Delighted to be joined by Guy Opperman, former pensions minister, one of the longest-serving pensions ministers.
The longest-serving.
The longest-serving pensions minister.
The Prime Minister decided I should spend more time with my family.
Well, I should also introduce Christopher.
Yes. So 9 weeks old. His first time on TV. Obviously coming with you. And we are doing the Conservative Party conference, and so far so good. This could be a very short interview if he kicks off, though. Well,
do you know what? A lot of people say I look far too young to be on television, so thank you for, by comparison, making me look like a positive veteran, a new Alistair Stewart.
Yeah,
but no, let's get into the weeds of this conference, because clearly there is a cloud above the Conservative Party right now. There are battles within the Conservative Party right now, all flowing from the election of Liz Truss and particularly that mini-budget. As you say, Liz Truss didn't ask you to continue in your role in government.
I mean, I'm fine about
Has that influenced your thinking?
No, I mean, listen, I want Liz Truss to succeed. I want the Conservative Party to succeed, and I totally respect her right to take forward her agenda with the people who supported her. And that's, to pretend otherwise is, this is not a meritocracy, this is politics. So that's fine. I'm delighted that Kwasi has changed his mind on the 45p. I think that is something that would not have got through the House of Commons. And I think he needs to bring forward quite an early statement. And I think the idea of waiting to the 23rd of November is untenable. I gather he's looking at October. It's got to be quite soon in October, in my humble opinion, for a variety of reasons. Not least, he needs to reassure the markets as to the long-term viability of his fiscal plan.
Now, this is the statement that is supposed to say how the books are going to be balanced,
Correct.
How debt is going to be falling in the medium term, in his words. Why is it so important that that comes so much sooner? And, of course, it's going to be accompanied by an OBR, Office of Budget Responsibility, statement as well,
Sure.
which normally take 10 weeks. Can it be done properly in a shorter amount of time?
So I think we're going to have a two-stage process, in my view. So stage one will feature him setting out a roadmap, and he's going to have to do that no later, in my view, than the 12th of October. And there's reasons why I picked that date. The second stage is the full, all-singing, all-dancing OBR assessment. And I think you can do it in two stages, because the government is perfectly entitled to say, look, our GDP is this, our spend is this, our tax intake is this is our proposals, and then we will then work with individual departments as to how it is we're going to work within these particular budgets.
Is there not a worry, if it is done sequentially in stages, that you get the same issue that you had with the mini-budget, that the OBR document doesn't accompany that Treasury document, that it's not seen to be independently assessed, and potentially that's a worry for the market?
No, I think, well, listen, to pretend that the Chancellor isn't going to have to make quite a detailed statement before mid-October is naive. That is going to happen come what may, all right? And it's either going to be formed in the form of a very long statement to the House of Commons on the first day back on October the 12th, but it should be done, in my view, on Monday the 11th or October the 12th. There's a reason why, because obviously you've got, as others have outlined, you've got the interest rates decisions being made at the beginning of November, which means October you've got to have the decision by the OBR. But more particularly on October the 14th, the position in respect to the Bank of England's liquidity funding for DB pension funds kicks in, and you have to have a proper statement of the pathway that the government is going on prior to that 14th of October, in my view. That will reassure markets, it will show the direction of travel, and you don't need all of the flesh on the bones, but you do need to have set out in broad terms where you're going. And the OBR, in my view, should be encouraged to give a short statement on that, saying, we understand that the final version is in a couple of weeks' time, that's fine. Prime Minister and the Chancellor having to act at speed because of circumstances, but this is where we are going, we're working with them.
Is your warning today that if we don't get that statement in October, if we don't get that statement before the liquidity funding for those pension funds runs out, we might well see another day of turmoil in those pension funds, that it may well lead to very, very tricky circumstances?
So I think, listen, the Chancellor's done good stuff, because he has reassured markets, he has made it clear he's going to do this statement, he's brought it forward from New Year to the 23rd of November, now to October. I think Treasury and the Chancellor and the PM fully grasp that reassuring the markets is you may be a free marketeer, but you have to work with markets. And making sure that happens is vital. And listen, his statement yesterday helped. The signal on the 45p helped. These are totemic things that genuinely can show this is the direction of travel, that to a certain degree we're going to live within our means, that we have a capacity to borrow more in certain circumstances, but how are we going to pay that back and how is it going to be funded long term?
Fundamentally, finally, in this conversation, why do the markets think that the UK's borrowing situation is so out of whack, given it's lower than that of the States, that of Canada, that of Japan,
out of the G7,
that of
correct.
Italy, that of France? All of these countries can borrow more without such market volatility. Why is that?
Well, I mean, you've given me about a 30-minute answer. I'll try and condense it into 30 seconds. So they can borrow more and we can borrow more. No question we can. But you have to work with the system that exists. So you have to have some degree of understanding from the OBR, and they may not like the OBR, but trust me, markets respect it. You have to have people who they understand and respect, so the decision on Tom Scholar doesn't help things. It's
the Treasury official.
Yeah, the decision not to have some sort of long-term or medium-term plan when they announced it on the Friday last was a mistake, and they've acknowledged that. And the comms and the explanation of what you're trying to do, it was flawed. All of which is fixable. All of it, Liz can turn this around, and this is genuinely fixable. But you have to work with the systems you've got.
Well, Guy Opperman, and indeed Christopher, thank you very much for joining us here on the briefing.
Thank God.
Incredibly quiet. I wish I was that well behaved.